Oh boy, do we have news. So here I am, Friday evening, got home from work, I'm just chilling. And then all of a sudden, I see Dana White has signed Conor Benn. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're fucked. But on a serious note, this is absolutely huge news. And this could mean a few different things. So let's break it down. As we can see on screen here, Conor Benn has left Matchroom to sign with Dana White's Zuffa Boxing, a one-fight, 8-figure deal. Now, what I have seen and what I can see is that this is a $10 million fight, okay? And when I first saw this originally, I was kind of blown away. I was like, holy shit, Conor Benn is kind of hot right now. There was talks of, Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia, things like that, even a Devin Haney, but don't think that'll happen. Kind of, Ryan Garcia or Shakur Stevenson, or even Tank at one stage. I remember Eddie Hearn wanted to fight Tank. That was kind of like what's being talked about for Conor Benn. He had a good win against Eubank back in November, I believe it was, or somewhere along those lines, because I was actually at the first one. It was an incredible fight. The stadium was sold out. It was absolutely insane. But I'm very shocked that Conor Benn took this route. And it also makes me think that this guy is getting paid $10 million. $10 million for a one fight. So I don't know if this is a thing of Dana's trying to just boost Zuffa Boxing by getting a big name in there kind of straight away. That's probably why it's a one-fight deal. I want to make it clear, I don't think this is snaky from Conor Benn, 1%. I've seen some people say, oh my god, how could you leave Eddie Hearn after everything Eddie Hearn's done, after everything Eddie Hearn stood by you, again, the whole Eubank drug failed test and things like that. I see your point, but let's not act like Conor Benn signed a lifelong deal here with Dana White Zuffa Boxing. He's fighting on a one-fight, $10 million paycheck. $10 million for one fight. You're taking that. Don't give me this bullshit you're not taking that. I'm taking that. You're taking that. Your fucking neighbor's taking that, okay? He's going to go back to Eddie Hearn after this. I guarantee you. Conor Benn, it seems like a loyal guy. I know people say, oh, well, he left him. Bro, for one fight to make 10 mil, you would absolutely take it. Don't give me that bullshit that you wouldn't, okay? Because you would take it. I think Conor will go back to Eddie Hearn. I think this is like a bit of like an injection into the life of Zuffa Boxing. This is kind of like an injection into just to get people talking about Zuffa Boxing. Just to get the names in the mix. Now, maybe he will sign for Zuffa Boxing. Now, I don't know much about Zuffa Boxing as regards. It's a little bit better than the BJJ, for example, or Power Slap, which Dana White just blatantly lies about how big Power Slap is. But I want our president to be representing the UFC, man. It just feels like Dana's slowly drifting from the UFC. That's how it feels. He's getting into boxing. He's getting into Power Slap. He's getting into UFC, BJJ. And I'm just a bit like, you need to be focusing on the sport that's in front of you, that is MMA. If you're not 100% in MMA, then you need to go into something else. Because we need a hungry savage. We need a fucking lion. We need somebody in there who's going to do what Dana White did before. I love Dana. I've said shit about Dana. I have. But I think Dana's incredible. I don't want Dana White to leave. I just want Dana White fully focused on the UFC. Because I feel like when Dana White's fully focused on the UFC, that's when the sport is at its best. That's when the sport is at its best. When he's making the matchups, he's paying the fighters. If you can pay Conor Benn $10 million for a one fight, you can easily pay these fighters more to get in there and be more active. Okay? Don't give me this bullshit. Most of them are probably on a couple of $100,000. Okay? You could make multiple title fights with that 10 million. And that's when I'm getting a little bit like, why are you splashing the cash for a one fight deal when you could be paying, Holloway? I'm sure Holloway gets paid, but Holloway could be paid a lot more. Why aren't you paying Holloway $4 million? You know what I mean? Holloway's going to be active. Holloway's going to be in there. I know he hasn't been there in a bit since June or July, but someone like Holloway deserves it, who's been around for a while. Just seeing him splash the cash on a one fight deal, Conor Benn, who, I don't know, people just forget that he failed drugs tests, which does kind of make me wonder, like, people just kind of swept that under the rug when he beat Eubank. The whole kind of thing was forgotten about. The first build-up, I think it was a big talking point. But then the second build-up, there was no talking point. There was none of that. And now Conor's being rewarded. I don't think it's a great look, okay? We know that drugs tests in combat sports, they just mean nothing. No one really cares if you fail a drugs test anymore. It's a bit weird. But I'm just a bit confused why they're splashing so much cash on a one-fight deal. Now, I do believe that is literally just to get the sauce moving, just to get the big names in the pot. But, you know, you couldn't pay 10 million to Alex Pereira. You couldn't pay 10 million to one of the Volk. Someone like that, that's going to make a big title fight. Pay Ilya or Islam 10 million to fight. You know, 5 million each. That's going to happen then. Or Sarukian versus Ilya. Pay them 5 million each. It's a mega fight. It's a mega fight. Gan versus Pereira is probably going to be announced any day at this point, to be honest with you. Like, we're nearly in March, and we have no main event for the Miami card, which will probably be Joshua Van versus Tasseratura, which I don't really like, but it is what it is. We don't have a May event. We don't even have a co-main event to Charles versus Holloway. We have no co-main event. That fight's in 3 weeks. 2 probably. 3 weeks. 2 weeks, actually. We have no co-main event. And you're just announcing and splashing 10 million on a one-fight deal boxer. This changes everything. This changes everything. Is the funding that we get for the Paramount deal going to go into Zuffa Boxing? Now, I know Turkey Al-Shea is absolutely funding Conor Benn and stuff like that, but like you couldn't get a bit of oil money. You love getting oiled up, so why don't you just get a little bit of oil money into the UFC? That's one thing we need. Maybe these fighters getting overpaid, and that's why they don't want to fucking fight. But I feel like a lot of big matchups could do with that extra, couple of million to really push incentive to fight. But all in all, I think this is insane. I think this is sick. Wouldn't say I'm necessarily over the moon. I'm more intrigued. I'm more intrigued to see what happens. I don't blame Conor Benn 1%. Not one of my... I'm actually like... It's hard because I do think Conor Benn did cheat. But part of me saw him go through all that, come out the other side, and I did think a part of it was like motivating. So part of me is like happy for the dude. Because I feel like... Listen, tainted supplements and stuff like that are real. But it was dodgy, bro. It was dodgy. But I actually don't mind Conor Benn as a human being. I'm not mad at him 1% for leaving Eddie Hearn and taking a 10 million one-fight deal. Eddie Hearn probably said, fucking take it, mate. But what do we think? Is Dana White in a good headspace with the UFC? Is Dana White shipping off his best talent and best fighters for Conor Benn and Zuffa Boxing? Let me know what you think down below, boys.